Hey, hello, hi. Again in the same day. Hmm. All right, so we're going to pick up on chapter 23. And let's see. Hi, I'm Rebecca Ray, and I am reading the Bible today and every day. Um, let's see. So we're going to back up a minute. I think I'm going to have to write down what we're talking about. So Athaliah is the mom. A A T H A L I A H usurps the throne. When Athaliah, thank you God for the hearing and the reading of your word. When Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to annihilate all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. Jehoshaphat, the king's daughter, rescued Joash, son of Ahaziah. So, Joash of Ahaziah, Ahaziah's mother. When Attiliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to annihilate all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. Jehoshaphat, the king's daughter, rescued Joash, son of Ahaziah. Joash, son of Ahaziah. Mother. Okay. Rescued Joash, son of Ahaziah. All right. And Ahaziah was the king at first. Ahaziah, king. Let's see. Ahaziah's downfall came from God when he went to Joram. When Ahaziah arrived, he went out with Joram to meet Jehu, son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. So when Jehu executed judgment on the house of Ahab, he found the rulers of Judah, and the son of Ahaziah's brother, who were serving Ahaziah, and he killed them. Then Jehu looked for Ahaziah. The Jehu soldier captured him. Then Jehu looked for Ahaziah, and Jehu's soldiers captured him. He was hiding in Samaria, so they brought Ahaziah to Jehu, and they killed him. The soldiers buried him, for they said, he is the grandson of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart. So no one from the house of Amaziah had the strength to rule the kingdom. When Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to annihilate all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. Jehoshaphat, the king's daughter, rescued Joash, son of Ahaziah, from the king's sons who were being killed, and put him and the one who nursed him in a bedroom. Now Jehoshaphat was the daughter of the king of Jehoram, and the wife of the priest Jehoiada. Since she was Ahaziah's sister, she hid Joash from Athaliah so that she did not kill him. While Athaliah reigned over the land, he was hiding with him in God's temple 6 years. Athaliah overthrown. Then in the 7th year, Jehoiada summoned his courage and took the commanders of hundreds into a covenant with him. Azariah, son of Jeroham, Ishmael, son of Jehohanan, Azariah, son of Obed, Maaseiah, son of Adiah, and Elsphat, son of Zitran. They made a circuit throughout Judah. They gathered the Levites from all the cities of Judah and the family heads of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. Then the whole assembly made a covenant with the king in God's temple. Jehoiada said to them, "Here is the king's son. He will reign just as the Lord promised concerning David's son." Then when the whole assembly made a covenant with the king in God's temple, Jehoiada said to them, "Here's the king's son. He will reign just as the Lord promised concerning David's son. This is what you are to do. A third of you priests and Levites who are coming on duty on the Sabbath are to be gatekeepers. A third are to be at the king's palace, and a third are to be at the foundation gate, and all the troops will be in the courtyard of the Lord's temple. No one is to enter the Lord's temple but the priest and those Levites who serve. They may enter because they are holy, but all the people are to obey the requirements of the Lord, completely to surround the king with weapons in hand. Anyone who enters the temple is to be put to death. Be with the king in all his daily tasks." So the commanders of hundreds did everything the priest Jehoiada commanded. They each brought their men, those coming on duty on the Sabbath and those coming off duty on the Sabbath for the priest. Jehoiada did not release the division. The priest Jehoiada gave to the commanders of hundreds King David's spears, shears, quivers that were in God's temple. Then he stationed all the troops with their weapons in hand, surrounding the king from the right side of the temple to the left side. by the altar and by the temple. They brought out the king's sons, put the crown on him, gave him the testimony, and made him king. Jehoiada and his sons anointed him and cried, "Long live the king." Then, when Athaliah heard the noise from the trumpets, the guards, and those praising the king, she went to the troops in the Lord's temple. As she looked, there was the king standing by his pillar at the entrance. The commanders and the trumpeters were by the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets, while the singers with the musical instruments were leading the praise. Athaliah tore her clothes and screamed, "Treason, treason!" Then the priest Jehoiada sent out the commander of hundreds, those in charge of the army, saying, "Take her out between the ranks and put anyone who follows her to death by sword." For the priest had said, "Don't put her to death in the Lord's temple." So they arrested her, and she went by the entrance of the horse gates to the king's palace, where they put her to death. Jehoiada's reforms. Then Jehoiada made a covenant between himself, the king, and the people that would be the Lord's people. So all the people went to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They smashed its altars and images and killed Matan, the priest of Baal, all the altars. Then Jehoiada put the oversight of the Lord's temple in the hands of the Levitical priests, whom David had appointed over the Lord's temple to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses. With rejoicing and song ordained by David, he stationed gatekeepers at the gate of the Lord's temple, so that nothing unclean could enter for any reason. Then he took with him the commanders of hundreds, the nobles, the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought the king down from the Lord's temple. They entered the king's palace through the upper gates and seated the king on the throne of the kingdom. All the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, for they had put Athaliah to death by the sword. Then Jehoiada put the oversight of the Lord's temple into the hands of the Levitical priests, whom David had appointed over the Lord's temple to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses. With rejoicing and song ordained by David, he stationed gatekeepers at the gates of the Lord's temple, so that nothing unclean could enter for any reason. Then he took with him the commanders of hundreds, the nobles, the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought the king down from the Lord's temple. They entered the king's palace through the upper gates and seated the king on the throne of the kingdom. All the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, for they had put Athaliah to death by sword. Judah's king Joash. Joash was 7 years old when he became king, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah. She was from Beersheba. Throughout the time of the priest Jehoiada, Joash did what was right in the Lord's sight. Jehoiada acquired 2 wives for him and he was the father of sons and daughters, repairing the temple. Afterwards, Joash took it to heart to renovate the Lord's temple. So he gathered the priests and Levites and said, "Go out to the temple of Judah and collect silver from all Israel to repair the temple of your God, as needed year by year, and to do it quickly." However, the Levites did not hurry. So the king called Jehoiada, the high priest, and said, "Why haven't you required the Levites to bring from Judah and Jerusalem the tax imposed by the Lord's servant Moses and the assembly of Israel for the tent of testimony? For the sons of that wicked Athaliah broke into the Lord's temple and even used the sacred things of the Lord's temple for Baal." At the king's command, a chest was made and placed outside the gates of the Lord's temple. Then a proclamation was issued in Judah and Jerusalem that the tax God's servant Moses imposed on Israel in the wilderness be brought to the Lord. All the leaders and all the people rejoiced, brought the tax, and put it in the chest until it was full. Whenever the chest was brought by the Levites to the king's overseers, and when they saw that there was a large amount of silver, the king's secretary and the high priest deputy came and emptied the chest, picked it up, and returned it to its place. They did this daily and gathered the silver in abundance. Then the king and Jehoiada gave it to those in charge of the labor on the Lord's temple, who were hiring stonecutters and carpenters to renovate the Lord's temple, also blacksmiths and coppersmiths to repair the Lord's temple. The workmen did their work, and through them the repairs progressed. They restored God's temple to its specification and reinforced it. When they finished, they presented the rest of the silver to the king and Jehoiada, who made articles for the Lord's temple with it, articles for ministry and for making burnt offerings, and ladles, and articles of gold and silver. They regularly offered burnt offering in the Lord's temple throughout Jehoiada's life. Joash apostasy. Jehoiada died when he was old and full of days. He was 130 years old at his death. He was buried in the city of David with the king because he had done what was good in Israel with respect to God and his temple. However, after Jehoiada died, the ruler of Judah came and paid homage to the king. Then the king listened to them, and they abandoned the temple of the Lord, the God of their ancestors, and served the Asherah poles and the idols. So there was wrath against Judah and Jerusalem for this guilt of theirs. Nevertheless, he sent them prophets to bring them back to the Lord. They admonished them, but the people would not listen. The Spirit of God enveloped Zechariah, son of Jehoiada, the priest. He stood above the people and said to them, "This is what God says. Why are you transgressing the Lord's commandment so that you do not prosper? Because you have abandoned the Lord. He has abandoned you." But they conspired against him and stoned him at the king's command in the courtyard of the Lord's temple. King Joash didn't remember the kindness that Zechariah's father Jehoiada had extended to him. but killed his son. While he was dying, he said, "May the Lord see and demand an account." Aramean invasion of Judah. At the turn of the year, an Aramean army attacked Joash. They entered Judah and Jerusalem and destroyed all the leaders of the people among them and sent all the plunder to the king of Damascus. Although the Aramean army came with only a few men, the Lord handed over a vast army to them because the people of Judah had abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors. So they executed judgment on Joash. Joash assassinated. When the Arameans saw that Joash had many wounds, they left him. So let's see. At the turn of the year, an Aramean army attacked Joash. They entered Judah and Jerusalem and destroyed all the leaders of the people among them and sent all the plunder to the king of Damascus. Although the Aramean army came with only a few men, the Lord handed over a vast army to them because the people of Judah had abandoned the Lord, the God of their ancestors. So they executed judgment on Joash. When the Arameans saw that Joash had many wounds, they left him. His servants conspired against him and killed him on his bed because he had shed the blood of the son of the priest Jehoiada. So he died, and they buried him in the city of David. But they did not bury him in the tomb of the kings. For those who conspire against him were Zabad, son of the Ammonite woman of Shemith, and Jehozabad, son of the Moabite woman Shimrith. The accounts concerning his son. The many divine pronouncements about him and the restoration of God's temple are recorded in the writings of the Book of Kings. His son Amaziah became king in his place. What his name is? Amaziah. King. All right, let's see. Judah King Amaziah. Amaziah became king when he was 25 years old. He reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoiadan. She was from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the Lord's sight, but not wholeheartedly. As soon as the kingdom was firmly in his grasp, he executed his servant who had killed his father, the king. However, he did not put their children to death, because, as it is written in the law in the book of Moses, where the Lord commands, fathers are not to die because of children, and children are not to die because of fathers, but each one will die for his own sin. Amaziah's campaign against Edom. Then Amaziah gathered Judah and assembled them according to ancestral families, according to commanders of thousands, and according to commanders of hundreds. He numbered those 20-year-olds. He numbered those 20 years old or more for all Judah and Benjamin. He found there to be 300,000 fit young men who could serve in the army, bearing the spear and the shield. Then, for 7,000 pounds of silver, he hired 100,000 valiant warriors from Israel. However, a man of God came to him and said, King, do not let Israel's army go with you, for the Lord is not with you. All the Euphrates, do not let Israel's army go with you, for the Lord is not with Israel. All the Euphratites, but if you go with them, do it. Be strong for battle, but God will make you stumble before the enemy, for God has the power to help or to make one stumble. Then Amaziah said to the man of God, what should I do about the 7,500 pounds of silver I gave to Israel's division? The man of God replied, the Lord is able to give you much more than this. So Amaziah released the division that came to him from Euphrates to go home. But they got very angry with Judah and returned home in a fierce rage. Amaziah strengthened his position and led his people to the Salt Valley. He struck down 10,000 Shurites, and the Judahites captured 10,000 alive. They took them to the top of the cliff where they threw them off, and all of them were dashed to pieces. As for the men of the division that Amaziah sent back so they would not go with him into battle, they raided the cities of Judah from Samaria to Beth Horon, struck down 3,000 of their people, and took a great deal of plunder. After Amaziah came from the attack of the Edomites, he brought the gods of Syrites and set them up as his gods. He worshipped before them and burned incense to them. After Amaziah came from the attack of the Edomites, he brought the gods of the Shurites and set them up as his gods. He worshipped before them and burned incense to them. So the Lord's anger was against Amaziah, and he sent a prophet to him who said, why have you sought a people's God that could not rescue their own people from you? While he was still speaking to him, the king asked, have we made you the king's counselor? Stop. Why should you lose your life? While he was still speaking to him, the king asked. So the Lord's anger was against Amaziah. After Amaziah came from the attack of the Edomites, he worshipped before them and burned incense. So the Lord's anger was against Amaziah, and he sent a prophet to him who said, why have you sought a people's God that could not rescue their own people from you? While he was still speaking to him, the king asked, have we made you the king's counselor? Stop. Why should you lose your life? So the prophet stopped. But he said, I know that God intends to destroy you because you have done this and have not listened to my advice. Amaziah's war with Israel. King Joash. King Amaziah of Judah took counsel and sent word to Jehoash, son of Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, king of Israel, and challenged him, Come, let's meet face to face. King Jehoash of Israel sent word to King Amaziah of Judah, saying, The thistle in Lebanon sent a message to the cedar in Lebanon, saying, Give your daughter to my son as a wife. Then a wild animal in Lebanon passed by the trample. Then a wild animal in Lebanon passed by and trampled the thistle. You have said, Look, I have defeated Edom, and you have become overconfident that you will get glory. Now stay at home or stir up such trouble so that you fall, and Judah with you. But Amaziah would not listen. From this turn of events was from God in order to hand them over to their enemies because they went after the gods of Edom. So King Jehoash of Israel advances. He and the king Amaziah of Judah met face to face at Beth Shemesh that belonged to Judah. Judah was routed before Israel, and each man fled to his own tent. King Jehoash of Israel captured Judah king Amaziah, son of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, at Beth Shemesh. Then Jehoash took him to Jerusalem and broke down 200 yards of Jerusalem walls from Ephraim gates to the corner gate. He took all the gods, silver, all the utensils that were found with Obed-Edom in God's temple, the treasure of the king's palace, and the hostages. Then he returned to Samaria. Amaziah's death. Judah king Amaziah, son of Joash, lived 15 years after the death of Israel king Jehoash, son of Jehoahaz. The rest of the events of Amaziah's reign from the beginning to the end are written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. From the time Amaziah turned from following the Lord, a conspiracy was formed against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. However, men were sent after him to Lachish. They put him to death there. They carried him back on horses and buried him with his fathers in the city of Judah. Okay, so we're going to stop there today, and we will continue reading tomorrow. All right. Thank you for the hearing and the reading of your word. Thank you for listening. Okay. Bye-bye.